Do you love stuff that connects one thing to another thing? Do you enjoy easy transportation without the need for constantly hopping in and out of boats? Well, if you answered yes to both of these questions, then bridges are going to be the thing for you, my friend. And what if I told you that as well as these useful functions, some bridges are also kind of cool and different from the others? Well, hang on to your hats. It's gonna get wild up in here. From bridges inspired by our DNA to others that can bridge the divide between warring nations, here are 20 unbelievable bridges in the world. Number 20. The Khaju River Bridge. This bridge is the highest in the whole entire world. It's a feat of modern engineering, which is so very high indeed that it had to be built using a rocket. The Khaju River Bridge was opened in 2009, crossing over the river valley between two mountaintops at a height of 1,600 feet above the earth. Now, this beats the previous world record-holding bridge by 400 feet. That had been the Hagigio Gorge Pipeline Bridge in Papua New Guinea, which is 1,200 feet above the ground. The construction of this bridge, although slightly bonkers, was a massively significant step toward connecting two parts of China that had previously been only joined by treacherous and awkward mountain roads with many rivers in between. Not exactly convenient in the modern and ever-expanding country. At 5,000 feet above the river valley, it was also very useful to stretch the first pilot line across that it had been necessary to use a rocket to set up the first strings across the gap. The whole thing is supported by two enormous towers at either end, and then the rest of the bridge is suspended in between. It's not a place for a casual drive if vertigo is your thing, though. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 19. Akashi Kakyo or Pearl Bridge, Kobe, Naruto, Japan. From the world's highest suspension bridge to the world's longest suspension bridge, we certainly know how to keep things extra exciting around here, don't we? Now let's get on with it, because the suspense is absolutely killing me. This time we're in Japan, specifically on the Pearl Bridge. This suspension bridge is a staggering 4 kilometers long, which is 2.5 miles, connecting Kobe and Away Island across the Akashi Strait. The necessity for bridges and clever feats of engineering are especially important in countries which are made up of many smaller islands and tend to be surrounded by rather a lot of water. These awesome bridge achievements are really the only way to prevent whole areas from being cut off from the rest of the country. As a marvel of engineering, the Pearl Bridge does receive a lot of attention. In fact, some tourists are drawn to visit the bridge just to look at it, and a bridge exhibition center has been set up to accommodate this interest. Although if you feel compelled to do such a thing, it's worth bearing in mind that all the detailed information about the bridge and its construction are only in Japanese. You can, of course, still visit the bridge and take a close-up look at it from the circuit of observation walkways that are suspended beneath the platform of the bridge. I can't think of a better way to go and spend your holidays. Number 18. Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco, United States. One of the more famous bridges of the world, the Golden Gate Bridge, links San Francisco with Marin County. When it was completed in 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge was the tallest and longest suspension bridge in the world, but we know that record-breaking has been easily surpassed since then, haven't we? The Golden Gate Bridge remains a symbol of American engineering. At the time of its construction, it would serve as a symbol of the great progress and power of the United States. Most things do, though, to be honest. When America builds something, they do like to make it extra big and extra strong. There's no such thing as a modest piece of engineering being quietly placed without a fanfare and a ribbon-cutting ceremony and a nice big boast about it all. It has, of course, been overtaken size-wise, but the iconic red structure of the Golden Gate Bridge in its epic setting is still one of the most recognizable landmarks of California. It's believed to be the most photographed bridge in the whole entire world. Number 17. Tower Bridge, London, England. Now we're headed to London to have a look at Tower Bridge. It's an historic construction which was built way back in 1894, adjacent to the famous Tower of London. Tower Bridge would be designed many centuries after the Tower of London was constructed, but it was meant to be aesthetically complementary to the structure. The bridge stretches across the River Thames between Tower Hamlets to the north of the river and Southwark to the south. It measures 800 feet long and is around about 250 feet wide. There are two towers, one at either side, which rise up over 200 feet over the river. On the bridge itself, there are a couple of covered walkways, which were originally designed for pedestrians' use, and they could be used even when the bridge was raised to allow boats to pass underneath. These walkways were closed to the public between 1909 and 1982 because they allegedly became a place for thieves and prostitutes to hang around, and that was far too scandalous, so they were shut indefinitely. Number 16. Seri Wawasan Bridge, Malaysia. Located in Putrajaya, the planned administrative center and federal territory city in Malaysia, the Seri Wawasan Bridge is a sort of futuristic-looking bridge with a bit of a nautical theme. You know, whatever. If you enjoy your bridges on account of their asymmetrical qualities, and this is something so few bridges can really claim to be displaying these days, isn't it? The Seri Wawasan Bridge is an asymmetric cable-stayed kind of bridge. The way that the design leans in a forward direction gives the appearance of a sailing ship, which is snazzily dressed up at night with lots of lovely multicolored fairy lights, also that it can also pretend to be an exciting Christmas tree instead of a boring old bridge in Malaysia. If you want to go look at this bridge in real life, you'll find it crossing over the man-made lake and connecting to the core island where the government buildings are. It also goes by the infinitely more pronounceable but much more bog standard name of Bridge Number 9. The thrills literally never end here at the Fancy Banana. We don't know when to stop having so much fun. Number 15. The Helix Bridge, Marina Bay, Singapore. Okay, so the last one may have been a bit of a snooze fest, but what wondrous delights could we possibly have in store for you next? I know you're all waiting with enormous anticipation. Here we go! The Helix Bridge in Singapore's Marina Bay is a walkway constructed in such a way that it's apparently been inspired by the geometric arrangement of a strand of DNA. You know, that helix shape, like they go on about in Jurassic Park and all of that. The enclosure that surrounds the pedestrian bridge is a pair of opposing double helix structures that have been fashioned out of stainless steel. It stretches across the Singapore River from the central business area to the Bayfront district. Measuring 280 meters long, it's over 900 feet, and the bridge allows pedestrians a safe pathway to cross from one side of the river to the other. Now, naturally, this is kind of what bridges are all about after all. The main thing is that this is Singapore, so the idea is to join up all the most swankster places into a modern and extra shiny way, and there's no doubt that the Helix Bridge does that. Oh, and they've thoroughly festooned it with LED lights so that it can be seen from all around as well. How extra shiny. Number 14. Ponte du Gard Aqueduct, Gard, France. The Ponte du Gard is the most visited ancient monument in France, and it's so easy to extract money from those who want to see it that the French Tourist Board have constructed a ruddy great big wall in the visitor center car park. Quite literally a paywall. So that the only way to view the enormous structure is by paying the exorbitant entry fees. However, if you do get inside of the place, this UNESCO World Heritage Site is considered by many to be a marvel of the ancient world and a remarkable technical achievement. This aqueduct was built by the Romans in the 1st century AD to carry water to the colony of Nimes. It crosses the river in Vers Ponte du Gard in southern France, and this is where it looks most spectacular. The bridge itself is 160 feet high and used to carry an estimated 8.8 million gallons of water a day over the 31 miles of distance that it covers. It's believed to have been in use as an aqueduct until as late as the 6th century, and some parts were even used for longer. But after the Romans, there was not sufficient maintenance to be carried out on the bridge, and it eventually became bunged up with debris and mineral deposits. Number 13. Royal Gorge Bridge, Cannon City, Colorado. This is one rather extraordinary looking bridge, but it does span a significantly more extraordinary landscape, so it's really not the bridge that anyone's paying all that much attention to. The Royal Gorge Bridge in Cannon City, Colorado, would be constructed in the year 1929. It was designed entirely to provide a location for people to enjoy the breathtaking landscape of that area, and it certainly achieved that aim. It's not part of the highway system, and really never was, nor ever will be either, apparently. The bridge crosses over the gorge high above the Arkansas River. In fact, it was the record holder as the highest bridge in the world from 1929 until it would be overtaken in 2001 by a bridge in China. But it was still the highest suspension bridge in the world until 2003, when that title would be taken by another Chinese bridge. The main span of the bridge is an astonishingly 880 feet long, and bear in mind that's suspended over the enormous gap below, which is 955 feet down to the valley. The full length of the bridge is 1,260 feet long. When it would be built in 1929, it took only 6 months to construct the steel-framed bridge with wooden plank base, and it cost $350,000. In these days, that would be the equivalent of $4.2 million. The park in which the bridge sits has suffered from wildfire damage in recent times. However, the bridge has managed to remain unscathed, even when other attractions around it had to be rebuilt, or in the case of the incline railway, have never been reopened. That this is a good solid structure, which is pushing the 100-year mark and still seems to be going strong. Well, fingers crossed that it actually is. Number 12. Lupu Bridge, Shanghai, China. Proclaimed as the first steel arch bridge in the world, and now apparently the third longest of its kind, the Lupu Bridge in China's Shanghai crosses over the Huangpu River. This is a pretty cool looking bridge, if you happen to like that sort of thing. It's a through arch bridge, meaning that it measures 12,795 feet from end to end, although it only spans about 1,804 feet of the river. The building of this bridge would be completed in 2003, which is when it also took over the title of longest arch bridge from the then record holder, the New River Gorge Bridge in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Now there's a bridge with a bit more interesting stuff going on. Apart from its super beautiful location, the New River Gorge Bridge in Fayetteville, West Virginia has an annual event dedicated in its honor, that being Bridge Day. Bridge Day is held on the third Saturday of every October, when the bridge is closed down to vehicles and all sorts of other activities take place. There's actually base jumping, rappelling, ascending, and a bunch of general celebration on the bridge. These events are not without their risks though. Of the 4 base jumpers who have died at the bridge, 3 of them died during Bridge Day festivities. But all of this is more interesting than any other boring old bridge in China, where they don't even have a festival for it or anything. Number 11. Gateshead Millennium Bridge, Gateshead, England. Well, here we have the Gateshead Millennium Bridge, which crosses the River Tyne between Newcastle and Gateshead in northern England in the United Kingdom. Now, this is a truly unique structure, apparently the world's very first and still only tilting bridge. It's one in a line of other distinguished bridges across the stretch of the river, but it's the only one which is purely for cyclists and pedestrians. Opened in June of 2001, it's been a useful thing for the locals and a novel thing for visitors ever since. Engineering-wise, it is a real feat of design. It's designed to literally tilt on its axis in order to raise up and allow vessels to pass through the shipping lane beneath. Obviously, when it's in motion, the pedestrians are required to wait on either side of the bridge on dry land until the process has been completed and the barriers are opened again. It is a bridge, not a fairground ride after all. Number 10. Széchenyi Chain Bridge, Budapest, Hungary. Here is another bridge for your eyeballs. This one is looking more like a regular sort of old-fashioned bridge, no fancy shimmying on this solid old thing. The Chain Bridge stretches across the River Danube in Budapest. It joins Buda and Pest together, and these are the western and eastern sides of the city. It's adjacent to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences and Gresham Palace on the Pest side, and then to the lower part of the funicular railway that leads to the castle on the Buda side. It was designed by an English engineer and built by a Scottish engineer. The bridge would be opened in 1849 and was at the time so highly regarded that it was actually deemed a marvel of modern engineering. It's also a rather attractive bridge, all things considered. It does have decorative designs cast in iron and is seen in a similar way in Budapest as the Brooklyn Bridge is seen in New York City. Number 9. Veluwemer Aqueduct Water Bridge, Netherlands. In the Netherlands, water is pretty important stuff. Also, things are hard to pronounce. The canals and waterways in this very low-sitting country connect the whole place together and are an essential piece of the nation's heritage and history. So it should come as no surprise that in the case of this bridge, they've prioritized the waterway over the road. This bridge is an aqueduct which carries water over the top of the road and is part of the lake. In fact, the whole area is composed of 3 man-made lakes around the island of Flevoland. Flevoland was formed from reclaimed land which was drained. Anyways, they've made this water bridge look rather attractive in the sunshine, haven't they? So now you can enjoy some drone shots of the whole thing, and especially of a boat traveling across it looking all picturesque and looking like something from the Dutch tourism board. There you go. What a lot of lovely drone videoing that they've done. Number 8. Millau Viaduct, Tarn Valley, France. The Millau Viaduct is the longest cable-stayed bridge in the whole entire world, if you even give a hoot about all of that. It does cross over the Tarn River in the south of France at a height of 885 feet from the earth down below. It was such a fantastic feat of engineering that it was planned for over 20 years by a gaggle of structural engineers and bridge specialists, all before they were properly prepared to begin construction. In the end, the building of this massive bridge began in the fall of 2001, and it was begun by building the 2 supporting towers. These each measured 340 meters, which is 1,115 feet high. The rest of the structure would be created as a huge prefabricated piece in a factory, and the colossal steel parts would be brought to the bridge in Millau and then painstakingly put together with exceptional precision. There's no room for error in a massive bridge, you know. In the end, it's believed that a staggering total of 2.2 million hours of labor were put into its construction before any vehicle could even be driven over it. Number 7. Sonneberg Bridge, Klosters, Switzerland. This bridge is about as exciting as it sounds, which is to say it's pretty dull. But of course, if bridges are what turn you on, then maybe this is going to give you all the feelings. And since you're here, maybe bridges really do it for you. Anyways, here you go. The Sonneberg Bridge is near the village of Klosters in the east of Switzerland, designed by Christian Menn, who is apparently a renowned Swiss engineer. The work on the bridge would be completed in 1998, and ever since then, it's carried the Klosters bypass across the Langkawi River. People find the design of the bridge to be interesting on the account of the curves and pylons at the roadway edges, which are positioned low and pointing outward. This, many have said, is aesthetically pleasing on the account of its sensitivity to the surrounding landscape. It's a favorite design in particular amongst structural engineers, and was consistently ranked at number 5 of such things between 1991 and the year 2000. What a thrilling thing that is. Number 6. Vasco da Gama Bridge, Lisbon, Portugal. Well done for sticking around until this point. I just hope you're still awake. Here we go with another bridge, this time in Lisbon in Portugal. What a thrill! I'm sure you're chomping at the bit with anticipation to learn about it. The Vasco da Gama Bridge is a massive cable-stayed bridge that crosses over the Tagus River in Lisbon. It's the second longest bridge in all of Europe, only beaten by the Crimean Bridge, which spans Russia and the Ukraine. This bridge was actually built to help reduce traffic congestion on the 25 de Abril Bridge in Lisbon, and to remove the necessity of having the traffic between the north and south of the country traveling right through the capital city center. The work on the bridge would begin in February of 1995, and it was then opened up to the public along with vehicles on March the 29th of 1998. It carries 6 lanes with a speed limit of 75 miles per hour. Oh, what a thrill. Number 5. Brooklyn Bridge, New York City, United States. Now, one of the more iconic bridges of all time, we have the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. This bridge has popped up in songs and films and poetry more than any other, and it's been glamorized, immortalized, and given a whole host of recognition, perhaps beyond any inherent worth that it may actually have. But who can possibly judge such a thing, especially out of an icon like this one? The structure of the bridge was considered a feat of engineering at the time, and it would be completed in 1883 when it became the very first roadway to directly connect Brooklyn to Manhattan, which was a profoundly important part of the development of this city. Since Brooklyn then became a part of New York City in 1898. The bridge features a span of 1,595 feet, which made it the longest suspension bridge in the world when it was first constructed. The bridge is actually a pretty good-looking thing as far as bridges do go. It has these Gothic-style towers with those instantly recognizable double arches and crisscrossed cables. Just catching a glimpse of the bridge is a New York experience, and taking a stroll across its length and peeping at Manhattan's iconic skyline is a tourism essential. Number 4. Ponte Vecchio, Florence, Italy. The Ponte Vecchio in Florence, Italy is one of the most visited of tourist destinations in the whole entire city. In Italian, Ponte Vecchio simply means old bridge, and that's a basic description of this structure. However, it doesn't quite do it justice. In fact, this was the only bridge that crossed the River Arno in Florence up until the year 1218. The bridge that stands in the spot now has stood there since 1345, with the original having been washed away during a flood and having to be rebuilt. But that 14th century bridge is still standing to this very day. There are plenty of small buildings on the Ponte Vecchio. That is one of the things that makes this bridge unusual. In fact, there have been shops on the bridge since the 13th century. There even used to be all kinds of shops, from butchers to fishmongers to even tanners. But in 1593, a decree would be sent out stating that only goldsmiths and jewelers were to be allowed to keep their shops on the bridge. As well as being the main way to cross the river in the city of Florence, and being the location for shops and homes, the bridge was also used by the Medici family, a rich and powerful dynasty that ruled the city for generations. Ponte Vecchio would be used to build a corridor for the family to travel between their palaces without having to walk in the dangerous streets below with the common filth, because they never had to come in contact with any of the people that they ruled. Probably for the best, really. They wouldn't have wanted to get any of those riffraff germs all over their posh persons. Number 3. The Confederation Bridge, Prince Edward Island, Canada. Joining together the two Canadian provinces of New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, the Confederation Bridge makes travel through this otherwise awkward part of Canada into a much more simple affair. The curved bridge is 8 miles long and is actually the longest one that crosses the ice-covered water in the world. It's long been held in high regard as being one of Canada's shining feats of the 20th century engineering. Prior to its construction, there was a janky old ferry service that joined the area together. There were a whole lot of differences of opinion about the building of the bridge and how it might affect the livelihoods and indeed the way of life for the people of Edward Island. In the end, though, the decision to build the bridge was decided in the polling booths. It was finally a 59.4% of islanders who had voted yes and changed the future of the region forever. Number 2. Magdeburg Water Bridge, Germany. Another aqueduct, but this time we're in Germany and looking at a rather large water bridge, which has a fairly significant position in central Germany, if you like that sort of thing. This water bridge began as a concept all the way back in 1905, and the work to bring it to fruition continued until the outbreak of the Second World War, but it was not actually completed until 2003. The most unusual, some would say most unique, feature of the bridge is that it's a water bridge that crosses water. Oh, deep joy. Located about 60 miles to the west of Berlin, the Magdeburg Water Bridge connects two different canal systems and is an important part of Germany's, and therefore Europe's, commercial transportation system. It crosses the span of the Elbe River and removes the need for the commercial water transportation to use a system of flocks to cross. This is obviously invaluable in terms of time, effort, and therefore money, which, as I'm sure you're aware of, is the point of all commercial enterprise. Number 1. Golden Bridge, Bana Hills, Vietnam. He's got the whole world in his hands, or at the very least, this bridge is in someone's hands, so that's nice and reassuring, even if a little bit gimmicky. The Golden Bridge was opened back in June of 2018 and is located in the Ba Na Hills Resort near Nha Dang in Vietnam. It's a 150-meter long foot bridge just for pedestrians, which is supposed to connect the gardens of the place with the cable car station so as to avoid the steep incline. However, the practicalities of the bridge are not what make it unusual. What makes this bridge stand out from the crowd is the giant pair of hands that hold it in place. These hands are constructed from wire mesh and fiberglass, but they've been designed to appear like stone supporting the structure. The kind of novel approach to bridge building surely deserves a round of applause, so let's give the designers a hand. After that thrill fest, I have no idea how I'm going to sleep tonight. How about you? Are y'all wired up now? Which of these bridges really strung you out? And did you find any of them really all that unbelievable? As always, let me know all your fabulous thoughts and ideas and criticisms of the way I pronounce things in the comments down below. I do my best, you know, but you're a tough crowd. Also, be sure to check out the other cool stuff that's showing up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.